Hey everyone, it's Brooke, and today I'm going to do my worst books of 2018, which means really mostly just my most disappointing books, although there are a few that I outright thought were just the worst. I'm having a very good, productive, lovely reading December. I've read a lot this month. This has by far been my best month. So I thought, why not, in the middle of this love fest I'm having with books, talk about the worst books? As you do. And mostly because I can't film my best of videos until January now because December is being so good to me that we will hold out until the very bitter end. Okay, so these are in no particular order. I am going to talk about books I DNF'd first and the books I actually finished last. These are my own opinions. You are free and welcome to have your own opinions about these books, as we all bring our own baggage to each story we read. Okay, so I started off the year with the Doomsday book by Connie Willis, and it was the worst. It is actually a book I found subjectively and objectively terrible. Again, still an opinion. I did a whole ranty video about it. I thought it was poorly written, and the plot, the premise was interesting. Nothing else in the execution was any good, and there were stuff factually inaccurate. Bad. I didn't like it, and I DNF'd it about a third of the way through, and then I ranted about it at book club, because that's what I do. The second book was truly a letdown, and that was Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I have a list over here, if you're wondering why I keep staring. So this was, okay, Signal to Noise by Silvia Moreno-Garcia is one of my, top books of the all times. It sits over there. Once I finally get this as all my favorites, it will be over here. It will be in my videos all the time. I loved it so much. So I was very excited to read Certain Dark Things, her take on a vampire novel, and then I found it to be the dullest book I had read in ages, with characters I could have pushed off a cliff myself. So it was not good. I read a lot of that one too. I mean, I was really trying to find something to hold on to, and it just didn't work. I DNF'd The Summer That Everything Melted by Tiffany McDaniel. So this book had been on my TBR for a while. It's literary fiction. I didn't have a great literary fiction year, but I read the first couple pages and really liked the way it was written. It was these beautiful, metaphors, and I thought, oh, she'll definitely find balance and not have every sentence be some overwrought metaphor. No, she didn't. And by the time I got to page 30, I couldn't take it anymore. So I read a lot about the book, and I just decided it wasn't going to be for me. So only got 30 pages into that one. I can't make some bold statement about its quality. I just know that its writing style was too much for me personally. The next thing that I DNF'd, and the only one that remains on my shelves, the possibility of coming back in some sort of zombie future, is Awayland by Ramona Ausubel. This book came out this year. This year has been so long. So this is her second collection of short stories. I loved A Guide to Being Born, so I really wanted to love this, but I read a couple stories and then just could not bring myself to pick it back up. I didn't hate those stories, just didn't find them compelling, but also it was a very, very bad time for me mentally, and it was in the middle of moving, so I have decided that I will give this another shot at a later date, because it may have been entirely just my headspace at the time. And then I was super disappointed to DNF The Calculating Stars by Mary R. Kolb, but especially because so many people loved it here on BookTube. In my real life, my book club loved it. I was reading it for my book club. And I thought it was terribly written with terrible characters. A book that was trying to tackle way too many issues and none of them well. And then it had to go and like sensationalize suicide. And I didn't read another sentence. So that one will not be coming back. And then finally, the most recent DNF, and another one that hurts my heart, was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. Romance is, I think, very particular to the reader. And that one I talked a lot about, I think, in my first part of December wrap up. So I'm not going to get into it too much here. It just didn't work for me on many, many, many levels. And quite frankly, I sit here and I think, God, Alexa just deserved a better man. Okay, so those were the DNFs. Now we're going to get into the stuff that I actually finished. I actually pushed my way through all of these books with little reward at the end of the day. So this should be a PSA about DNFing more books and a note to self for future. I mean, I DNF 6. It's not terrible, but I should have DNF 6 plus all of this. So let's get into it. The first one is Marlena by Julie Bunton. So I had high hopes. This was going to be me making my triumphant return to literary fiction, and then I read this and was like, is it though? The first page is beautiful. Everything after that feels like derivative junk I'd read a million times before, and much, much better the other stuff I'd read before. So this was bad. Female friendship done blandly, the same way other books do it, except blandly. Yeah, so that did not mark my triumphant return to literary fiction. Other books have, just not that one. This one hurts. This was The Bells by Dhonielle Clayton. Really wanted to like this. The cover is gorgeous. I think it does great things for representation, and I think if you still want to read this book, you should go read this book. Just don't listen to me. I think this was another book that wasn't written in a style that I loved. Again, it was very flowery, sugary. It felt like a too sweet cookie I kept trying to eat, and it was making me sweat. I don't know. The writing was not my jam. I didn't particularly find the story that interesting, and at the end of the day, it has the barrier gaze trope, which sort of was the nail in the coffin for me personally. So yeah, but people loved this, and I think that you should give it a try and see if it is for you. I would not recommend that with Marlena. Let's talk about Red Sister next by Mark Lawrence. So also a BookTube darling here, especially in the SFF community. People love this, man, and I wanted to love it too, but I didn't, and I have a whole video about this book as well. I thought it was, I think, again, this is on the writing. I thought it's on the pacing. I thought the first half of this book was actually really good, and I thought, well, maybe this is going to live up to the hype, and then the second half just, dived off a cliff and went plunk, splat. The bottom, real gross. Because I think the world building is bad. And so as we got deeper into the story, I couldn't really picture the world. I didn't understand the rules. The magic kept getting me twisted up. I couldn't tell some characters apart from other characters. Too much was happening, and there wasn't enough for me to grab hold of. I also started noticing at that point, because I was getting annoyed, all of the annoying writing. The writing that's just not good in this. And I unfortunately gave it 2 stars. All of these books are 2 stars, basically, are DNF'd, which I don't give star ratings to. So yeah, I have Grey Sister on audio. I think that this series might serve me better on audio so I don't get too bogged down in like grammar stuff. Maybe I just won't care as much about plot and pacing if I'm listening to it. We'll see. I'm not ready to completely write this off. Sometimes stuff gets off to a slow start. I'm willing to give it another book. Maybe. Then I'm going to talk about a graphic novel. So disappointing. It was Jane by Aline, Brosh, McKenna, and Ramona K. Perez. So the art is great. I mean, look, it's super fun. The story is a retelling of Jane done in a way that you would never actually want Jane Eyre. Sorry. You would never want to read Jane Eyre, just Jane Eyre. Just this version of Jane Eyre invites incest. Because that's what all of your Jane Eyre retellings have been missing. And then finally, maybe the most disappointing book of the year and maybe the most controversial book on this list, maybe the most beloved book on this list, but I'm not apologizing. And that is Circe by Madeline Miller. There are merits to this. If you want to read this book, I highly recommend you read this book. It's going to make a lot of people's best of lists. It's great. I just think that, again, its writing style bored me to tears, made me want to just never pick up the book again and take a nap instead. And I found this to be problematically feminist. Giving Circe a voice is absolutely feminist. Telling her story, fleshing her out. The idea here is very feminist, but Circe herself pissed me off with her treatment of women, the way she treated other women. And normally I'd be fine with that because, hey, there's some shit women in the world. But I just felt like, I felt like the message was muddled to me. You know, like, what are we saying about feminism here? Because I felt like this was like, yay feminism, except it's not that. I mean, even just the way she treats the nymphs that are banished to her island. Like, she just is like, fuck y'all, I'm not even gonna talk to you whores. Like, you know, like, really? I don't know. It didn't work. It didn't work for me. So, there's that. And that's controversial. Sorry. Not sorry! I wasn't gonna apologize, but it's like, it's just ingrained in us. Anyway, those were my most disappointing reads. The worst books for me of 2018. Sad. Okay. Hopefully there will be less of them next year, and hopefully next year I will DNF more and just make my reading world a better place. Until next time, guys. Bye.